ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. In the first Prashna, basically, he came with an idea uh, of what is this, where from this creation has come. That was the idea, and he says that अथ कबंदी कात्यायने उपरेति प्रपंच भगवन् कुतो हवा इमा प्रजा प्रजायन्ते इति. That means how the creation has taken place. He did not say why, how it has happened. That means to say, when we say, people usually ask why creation has taken place, that means they have a complaint. Usually people, when they say why this creation is like this, that means why the creation is like this. I would have liked the creation in a different way, and that we all would like to give an amendment. So therefore, that it is not the question of why, because why is basically utility-based question. That means I would like to make use of this creation. I can't make use of this creation. That's what is the question of why. But how is actually the scientific question. How is more of a inquiry into the origin of creation. So that is what is more fundamental question. That's what Upanishad says. Upanishad starts with that question. It says that Kuto hava imaha praja prajayanta iti. So that's how the he inquires about how the creation has taken place, and then he says that praja kamo vai prajapati satapotapyata. So it presupposes one thing, that there is one source from which the creation has taken place, that he calls it as Prajapati. We call it as Brahman. So this idea of what is called as God, or this thing, God created, I don't know what is the word God coming from, but here it is very clear, it says Prajapati. That means somebody from whom everything has come as Prajapati. Or the same thing as Brahman, what includes everything. Now here, more of a Prajapati, he says, with an idea, though everything is there in the nature, but what is more relevant to this inquiry is the human being. Why is it like that? Is because basically that the of all the species that are there, most complex species in the creation is human being. And he goes all the way from complex, when I said, gross physical inert body to the consciousness. In the other species, that this defined way of beings are not there. So they don't even think of it.
Prajapati is supreme, we can consider.
Sorry?
Supreme, we can.
Supreme. Supreme in the sense of all the aspects are there in the human being. That's why an animal aspect is also there within us. A, a rock aspect, a stone aspect is there within us. A liquid aspect, a fluid aspect is within us. And then we also have mind, dream aspect of it, and all those things. Intellect aspect of it, where the questioning and all that takes place. And then behind all these things, the consciousness is there. So that is why it is supreme in that sense. Supreme in the sense that it has got and then there is no other species which is this, which has got this kind of a thing. No other species has this kind of a thing. Not even any other world. So all other worlds are nothing but our own imagination. And there's a very beautiful way he says that heaven and hell. And people talk about heaven and hell and all that. See, one thing is that you go to heaven and hell only after death. So that you have not seen it. Those who have gone to heaven or hell, they have never come back to report about it. Then why are we having that discussion about that?
The discussion regarding Asuras are belongs to hell.
Same thing. You see, again, from there, all these other things. Whereas we are very careful about that. Indian culture, we have said, I mean, there are Puranas which talk about all the stories and all that. But then very important thing is that we have very clearly defined, like the way I said, Prajapati, Brahma, and all that. The same way about Devas also, there is a very clear definition for us in the Indian culture. It's nothing to do with the imagination, etc., etc. That kind of thing is not there. In fact, much more so in the Mandukya Upanishad that I'm giving in the other classes that I'm covering the Mandukya Upanishad, there also the very beautifully presented this idea of uh, there is a position where I mean we have the experience of gross world, we have also experience of subtle world. That's what is the dream world, the subtle world, dream. But then in that subtle world, it's not just only the dream, that your imagination, your perceptions, and your hallucination, all these things are involved in the dream world. He puts everything into that dream world. Why? The simple thing is that just as the dream is your own experience, all other things are also your own experience. It's nobody else's experience. Like, for example, the Dhritarashtra's Darbar, Krishna shows Vishwarupa Sadarshana. And he wanted to show, then everybody. But when the same Mahabharata war, it's only Arjuna sees, nobody else sees that. So it is from the dream world that is similar to the dream world that is there. Arjuna feels satisfied with that, and then it changes to 12th chapter Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, that all these supposed to be the uh, experiences, supposed to be spiritual experiences, God's experiences, people have reported, great saints and all that. They didn't deny it in Mandukya Upanishad. It doesn't deny. It says everything when the moment you say it's an experience, we count it. But only one thing is the moment you say it's experience, that means you are not that. That's outside. The moment you say it's experience, it's outside. So being is the one which is without any experience. And that's what in the deep sleep state, you are, there's no question of experience there, but you are blissful there. That's why we say that when we get up, wow, wonderful sleep I had. So that is the only experience where you become you become that. There is nothing like an experience, and that we take it further on. That's why Turiya, Jagrata, Sapna, Sushupti. Then Turiya is supposed to be a state. That's why Turiya, though many times referred to as the four states of consciousness, but they say that that's not a state of consciousness, because all the three other states, and that's what is yourself, consciousness itself. So therefore, basically, that Turiya is supposed to be yourself. That's why it is not given any name, it's given as the fourth. And it's also not an experience, but it is your being. So the same way here also, the human being is considered as something which is extraordinary because human being has only experience, and then beyond the experience and articulation, all those things are possible. That's why mm, Prajapati. Now from that only, that he comes to the next level idea saying that stay kamayata. That was basically satapotapyata, tapastapya, utanamutpadayate. This idea of kama, praja kamaha, this kama is actually is there very clear in the case of human being. That means want to desire to have it. In all other things, what happens is that it is programmed. In human being, it is not programmed; it's conscious. So therefore, all these things come. Now but when he meant that. Praja Prajayante iti, that means it's not just from where is this whole creation is coming from. That's why it comes from the level of Aditya and Rai, Surya, etc. All those things he comes about in the first chapter. So first chapter it is more of what about the cosmos aspect of it? The whole first question is about all those things. Now the second question becomes a little more closer to the human being, more closer to human being. And in that, Bhargava is for the discussion, that's what it is. Second, Athainam Bhargavaha Vaidarbhipapracha Bhagwan Katyeva Devaha Prajam Pitharayate Kataraha Yetat Prakashyante Taha Punaresha Varishta Iti. In this, basically, he brings about the idea of Deva. That Deva, we normally put it as God, but then here the God means that it is uh, the God's also is ability to function. Like for example, um, seeing, ability to see at the human level. But there, in the cosmic level, it is ability to shine, it's ability to wet. That's what is supposed to be the gods. So what happens is that the object is there and then experiencer is there. In between, whatever that conveys the object to experiencer is supposed to be Deva. So that is why we have all these various rituals that we propitiate the devas. That means to say we make the rains to come. We make the that means that deva is rain may come may not come, but then ability to give the rain is there. That's what is varna. Similarly, fire may be there or may not be there. Uh, Something that might drive, but then the quality of burning is there always. The moment it comes, the fire, his fire is always coming there. That ability to function at the cosmic level is supposed to be Deva. Now, their contribution is what is in human being. In fact, whatever these eyes and ears, etc., they are nothing but the contribution from them. Like, for example, wind is the one which is responsible for our sound to go, and it is the light that is what is the sun is responsible for seeing. So that means to say, whatever that individual level, what we call it as an ability to function, at the cosmic level, they are the gods. So therefore, he comes to this question of what is that? Bhagavan Katyeva Devaha Praja Vidharayante Tatraha Yata Prakashyante Taha Punaresha Varishtaiti. What is that something which is a boss of all these things, Varishtaiti. So now slowly comes to the individual level. That's why he gives in both the ways. That one is Aditya. Aditya is the basic prana who is supposed to be something. And it can easily be understood that way because whatever that you have, they're all because of sun only. Because whether the rain falls or the forests are there, everything is there, creation is there, everything is because of the sun only, because of the sun. So therefore, Varishta Prana is the sun. So same way when you look at it, we have Varishta Prana. Now, while describing about that, the second chapter comes with various aspects of it, how the sun is responsible for creating the time, changes. And all these things are created because that he created two aspects of it, day and night, and Uttarayana, Dakshinayana. And he also created various planets and all those things. So that what happens is that every object that is created now will give us add to one parameter of time or one parameter of something, and that's why we have all this you know astrology and all that came because that we always say that Shani is in the Guru Sthana, so therefore that there is something like that. That means to say it's supposed to be a power, it's supposed to be an individual or a planet that is there. And how that particular planet comes to that particular place, it's all the calculation that they do it.
So consider astrology, astromaths.
Yeah. So all these things are basically look at the way that how the continuum happens that very simple way that we can see that effect of moon on human being. And that's why when the full moon time that people get crazy because your mind gets affected, because the whatever the changes that happen in the moon, the same way changes happen within us. So therefore, that there is a connection between these two. Like that, all these planets connections are also there. And earlier, they used to follow so clearly about all those things because that they had that ideas about all those things, and that's how they have come up with so much. In fact, if you look at this Indian calendar, in the Western calendar, you don't come across that way, but Indian calendar, you can clearly see that after about 60 years of all this calendar that we have, and 60 years later, when you look at it, exactly all the all the planet star combinations and all those things are exactly what was there 60 years back, including the hour, minute, time also that it matches. That's a very beauty of it. So you will see that kind of a thing in the nature itself. So nature and you are together as one unit, and that's what God you get it. Now he brings about a small little story kind of a thing, where he says that every other prana thinks that there are various other prana. And it is this prana which uh, how they explain about it is a different kind of a thing. They say that it happens like this, it happens like this. But now the way that I would look at the whole thing is like when we say that Brahman or Prajapati, it is consciousness is the most important quality is the freedom. There are two, three things that are very uh, important about the consciousness is first thing is the experience is only consciousness. I am seeing means basically who is seeing, it's only the consciousness who is seeing. All other things are the units that are there in between. It is just facilities that are created. They don't have themselves any ability. It's only that they have been provided to create. My seeing, my hearing, all those things, it is I who is doing it. That I is supposed to be consciousness. So experience is belong to only consciousness. No other thing has any experience in between. All other things are only facilitates facilities to make that experience possible. The second thing is the consciousness has the freedom. Even very simple way that we can see that if somebody is conscious, two things that we try to check with that, whether he has a freedom to move. Come on, move your hand, move your leg, open your eyes, so that we can see that he has a freedom. The second thing is, can you see, or you tap him and say that, do you feel? Pinch him and see that whether you have the pinch. So therefore, consciousness is there. Even paralysis. The leg is there where the paralysis is there. We touch it and then it is not there. They beat it with the hammer to show that whether it is felt or not. Feeling is not there. So consciousness is not there. Then it becomes like a simple, still leg is there, but the consciousness is there, not there. So therefore, what is the one which is experiencing is the consciousness. So consciousness is the only experiencer. Consciousness is only having the freedom.
In that case, it is just gross.
All things gross. That's all. It is just only physical thing. It has nothing to do with that. However wonderful the wise will be. In fact, that's what he comes to his third chapter very beautifully comes about. So therefore, all these things are essentially very clear is that we have the freedom and we have and you are the consciousness. You identify yourself the consciousness, then you have the freedom and you have the feeling. Feeling right and wrong, good and bad, hot and cold, all these feelings are there. Similarly, the freedom to move, open your eyes, close your eyes, this freedom is there. I always give a small little story about that. A job contractor is building a 10-story building, and then some workers are working above on the top. And the two of them, they by slipping, that they fell down on the ground. And one fellow died, and the other fellow broke his bones. And the fellow broke his bones, he was crying because the pain. The conductor comes to him and says that, look at the other fellow. He's lost his life and is keeping quiet. And you broke a couple of bones and a big deal, you are crying. You have lost your life, that means there is no more feeling. feeling pain and pleasure also, that you should have the life in that. And this fellow is crying because that he has broken bones. So essentially, that feeling and the freedom is there. The most important aspect of the freedom are the, in fact, the more and more I think of it, only aspect of freedom is that I can give up my freedom to become thing of a lesser freedom. When I say mind is free, just you take the example of mind. Mind has what you see, what you hear, what you touch, what you smell. All those things are the mind. Everything belongs to the mind. So that means to say mind is the one which is consciousness is working through the mind about all these things. But mind itself cannot see. Mind has to give up its freedom to become eyes to see. But the eyes cannot hear now. Mind would have done all those things, but mind, by becoming eyes, that means to say it has given up its freedom of all other things, and then only one pointed that it is what is see. Similarly, ears, all other things are given up, and it restricted itself only to the point of hear. So therefore, it is there because it has like the way tentacles that are there. My palm is there, fingers are there. Like that, all the senses are the fingers coming from the palm. So I'm holding it actually in the palm, but only thing is through the fingers that I'm holding it. The same way, objects are held by the mind through the senses, but the mind itself is not independent. Mind is actually operated by the consciousness. So this consciousness is the one which has given up its freedom to become something what of lesser freedom. This is the most important quality of the consciousness. And now, what happens is that this consciousness, what he calls it as, here what happens is that he calls it as prana, main prana, and equates as the consciousness or equates as the Brahman. Brahman itself, that's what is. Brahman itself becomes prana. So therefore, that now it has made into all those things. Now what happens is that they are the lower, but then they have their own functioning. Like for example, eyes have their own functioning, and ears they have functioning, and all those things. These things what we see outside, but actually when you look at it, how complex it is there, because the same consciousness which is there, which whatever the food is come, but it also converts itself into one thing called as the digestive tract, another is called as the respiratory tract, another is called as the pancreas, and something goes into the bone, and something goes into the bone marrow. What we see is the five senses here outside. It's very gross but simple thing. But when you extend it to further, how many things that are going on within us? One human being, when you look at it, it's got so many things that's going on. Then we can understand how that nature also has so many variety of things all over throughout, because basically that it has a capacity to become everything that is there. So that means now each has become individual capacity working independent. It has nothing to do with the other things. Like the way that the prana that becomes distributed within us like this. One prana is taking care of working with the skin and hair and all those things, and another prana is working at the lungs and this and that. And somebody dies, look at the way that the other pranas do not even know that somebody died. The process is continuing. That's why even after the death, his beard will grow and then all those things. But then they are slowly dying. They don't realize. But then the death happens very slowly. But it looks like that they are independently dying. Because independently they anyway die. So your skin is also undergoing death constantly. So it's a process like that. It's going on. So it looks like that it is not connected with the main thing. It looks like. So therefore it gives an idea saying that I'm independent, I'm living and I'm dying. It's my own way. The skin also says like that, bones also say like that, and this also. Everything looks like independent.
Sense
Okay?
organs, we can say it.
Sorry?
Sense
Sense
organs.
organs also. Eyes are functioning separately, ears are functioning separately. So we say that we are masters of ourselves. There's no question of any super master of those things. Oh, okay. Then this prana now thinks, If it is like that, then I will go from here, then you continue to function. The moment he goes away, then everything is dying. So they run behind him. Baba, please come back. You are the master. The same story, same similar kind of story is there in the Kenopanishad also. Kenopanishad also says that there the questions very beautifully asked that eyes are seeing. I say, what do you do? I can see. But are the eyes seeing or eyes are used by somebody else to see? See, when eyes, that means if eyes are seeing, the moment you close the eyes, the seeing should stop. But no, you close your eyes, you see the darkness inside. I said, no, I'm not asking, I'm not interested in whether you close the eyes or open the eyes. I'm interested in you not seeing. Now the big question comes, how to not to see? How not to see? See, that is the most fundamental question. So the story goes like that, saying that I am. After saying all these things, then he comes to the story where the what is it? The wind says that I can blow anything and dry up anything. Already keeps one star and said, okay, dry it up. Oh, he blows and blows and blows, and then that blade of grass is still setting. Fails, and then actually it is Agni. The fire comes and says that I can burn anything. Okay, the blade of grass, you burn it. Blade is kept and then blows, finally defeated. Because the blade of grass is like that, so I could not do, go back. So did you find out who has come? That's what is the question. I could not find out. Huh?
The third eye can be related to dream state.
Third eye, no. Dream is only at the level of, see, whatever the wakeful state existence is there, a very similar thing is there which is supposed to be subtle. Gross world and subtle world. That's all the dream state.
Sometimes if close eyes also we are able to view couple of things.
Yeah.
That is we can be
It's
able
also
to-
dream. Only thing is where from you are reaching the dream. Normally, what happens? Our dream is we reach the dream from the wakeful state to dream.
wakeful state.
So, therefore, there are details of the wakeful state, and we go to the dream. Only in the case of Patanjali Sutras, he says, and also when Mandukya Upanishad, at one place he calls it that sometimes that dream state, dream-like state, we can reach from the deep inner silence. Then we don't have the object and emotions of the wakeful state to give the dream. Such dreams are supposed to be the dreams where you come across some reality, all those things. And that's a different kind of experience. Something what happens 20 days ago or 15 days later, you suddenly see in the dream-like situation. And then you're familiar with that. But then
In dream state we are not going to feel emotions.
in the
Physical
dream,
emotions.
sorry,
In dream state we are not able to watch our physical emotions.
no, we are. No, gross emotions, yes, we don't watch. But then subtle we create that emotions. Because the emotions will bring about the dream. The fear, especially, a dream has the two things. One is fear and the other is desire. Both these things bring about the dream. So the fear of dream fear is so powerful that it will affect on the wakeful body also. So it affects the wakeful body. So therefore, in fact, a lot of the case of children where they have the bedwetting, they have dreamlike condition. It looks like that they have gone to the bathroom and that they have emptied. But then later on they found out they did not do it. So that is the thing which creates that bedwetting. Even after so many days, that sometimes 7, 8 year old boy also has that come. So therefore, basically, it's a dream which created that kind of a condition. So we need to. There are ways to overcome that, all those things. But then this is one aspect of it from the wakeful state to dream state. Another is from the deep inner silence to dream state is where you cross the time and therefore deja vu experience, something that you see. Or maybe there is some problem that you are really working for a solution, and suddenly you wake up and then you have a solution in front of you. And how does that solution come? It comes from the silent state of mind. When you come to the solution problem, the problem clarity is there. So therefore the solution occurs. So that's the reason why normally they say that if you have a problem that is not getting solved, don't worry about it, sleep off. Next morning when you get up, we say that fresh mind so that you can work. That is, we go to the deep sleep state. That's the idea. But the dream has complete potential of whatever the wakeful state is there. That's why it is called as it's only its image. That's tanmatra. It's image tanmatra. Everything is there in the dream. But many times what happens is that you don't even remember dreams, and it just works on its, and we know very well it is dream. But what happens is in the dream state, it is as real as the wakeful state, reality. So therefore, you can't deny the dream. That's why he calls it as Vaitantya. That means to say, Tatya is reality. Tatya is reality. Something like reality, but if it is not real, then if it's not at all existing, we don't even think of it. But we still think of it because though it is not real, but it gives the idea of reality of that. It's not because of superimposition, because this Vaitantya is different from seeing the snake on the rope. See, snake is also there, rope is also there. You superimpose the rope on the snake, on the rope, and then you see the snake. Snake is in your mind, then you see. Here you don't superimpose any object or anything like that, but it's a reality object by itself. In fact, he goes to a depth of understanding about these things. He says that, so people say that that doesn't have longevity. That means to say, dream, whatever that is there, time wise, it doesn't fit into the time. But then in the dream, it has time.
Dream is a good or bad, sir?
Dream is a
Good or bad?
dream. You can't say good or bad because dream happens. There is no question of it. But
How to get it?
what happens?
Many days without dreams we are sleeping. Actually.
No, actually, we don't sleep without dreams. Dreams do come. But only thing is we don't remember those dreams. That's why these days experiments are there, lab experiments. We have the sleep lab experiment is there, where we connect to the people and we can see that there is a rapid eye movement and all those things that are there. It shows the dream.
Actually, my experience,
Yeah.
before earlier, like many dreams are arising.
Yeah.
But now I do sincere meditation daily 1.5 hours. Now I want to
Right.
dreams. Actually.
That is the state where when there is nothing like emotions we have stored in the mind, then the dream will not happen because an ordinary object itself does not come into the dream state because it has no importance. But there is some importance for some object, therefore that it comes into my dream. I have given importance to it.
When we are in college, this time we keep dream, couple of dreams are come automatically. After this meditation, everything stops.
Right. So then, actually, that means to say the less and less of impressions are there in the mind. That's what his Mandukya Upanishad says that. What brings about this kind of a thing? Vaisatya Prakarana. There he says that there is some part of your prana. Here also he says it carries you the impressions, and that impression is responsible for your dream. Here also he comes into that. So this now what happens is that uh, in fact they have tried this experiment also, that what you asked the question, dream is good or bad. So now because that there is a way to find out that somebody is dreaming or somebody is the dreamless sleep, and the moment that the dream starts, they woke him up and then give him some water, something like that juice, and then put him back to sleep. So that what happens is that we totally try to eliminate the dream. Consciously from outside, we try to eliminate the dream because it's very easy. You can see in the lab also that we have the monitor where it shows that you are in the dream state. What is the dream? Nobody says about that. That's purely your
When
secret.
it arises, no
Yes.
definitions.
So that is there. When they did that, they wanted to do the experiment for about 3 months, see what will happen. They found out that in 15 days, that fellow became mad. Because without dream, you, your mind will not be safe. That is the idea. Then they found out that dream is like a scavenger of whatever that your suppressions. If the suppressions become too many, then you are in an altered world and you have not drained it out. Then they become the mad fellows. They are crazy. They do all kinds of things which they don't take control or anything like that. So just goes on like that. So therefore, they said that the dreams are necessary. There are two, three purposes that are there. One is scavenging, other is the understanding about what your mind. There are various things that are there. But the dream itself can eliminate if only that you meditate. That means to say your mind is just in the present. It has nothing to carry, no ambitions, no nothing. When that is the state, then you can then there's no need a reason for the dreams to be there. So
You're saying that the consciousness on its own gives up its freedom, right?
yes,
Why is it that?
just to play. That's why it is Leela. See, play can only happen if two things are there. In play means two things are there, then only play takes place.
I think my understanding, if vision is there, so confusion vision or straight vision, that time also dreams arises. Some
Right.
sincere vision,
That's what that is.
creates actually.
In the spiritual realm, the people have the visions, and visions and dreams. That's actually Mandukya Upanishad and the dream state. He carries all those things extensively. Extensively talks about all those things. But then what happens is that, in fact, there he gives a very clear distinction about that. That what happens on the wakeful state, dream state is that wakeful state is much more clear compared to the dream state. If wakeful state clarity is almost like 100%, dream state quality is about 20%, 15%, like that. Sometimes even 5, 10%. That's why if you think of the dream that you have seen, if you just recollect the dream that you have seen, you see that there are, yeah, these are the things that there, many details are not there. All right, that you're walking someplace and then you're walking in Bangalore. In the dream, you may be in California, but you're walking in Bangalore. But along with whatever that you're walking, have you seen anything around that place? I was walking in Chamarajpet, but then what is that you are seeing around? You said no. All the other details are not there. That means to say that the other details even become much more uh, diluted compared to the your object that is there. My friend says 40 years, 50 years he has been in USA. He says if I dream my own home, Banganpalli or this thing, India, Karnool. But then the why is it dream is that the dream is less powerful than the wakeful state. It's very obvious, very clear for us. But then what happens is in the case of these people who have bhakti movement, it's only possible in bhakti movement. That is, the God, you only create, but the God becomes so prominent, so predominant, almost like takes the size of reality. Listen to the music, singing the bhajans, and listening to the stories of God, being in the temple and spending time there. All these things will make them feel that God is so much more reality. Your own creation will become so much reality. There is a state will come when this reality becomes less potential than that reality. That is when it becomes like visions. Vision is a state where what you see is much more powerful than the wakeful state. That's what is the vision. But in order to come to that vision, what an amount of devotion, dedication is necessary. Like, for example, for several years, the Tyagaraja was doing all those things. Suddenly, he had the vision of Rama. That day, he wrote the Kritik, Hanumontini, Rama, Hanumontini. Did you not see earlier? No, it is an ecstasy that suddenly transformation has taken place. The same kind of thing Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also says that God is real and more real than I see you now. That means if there is anything like dream, you are a dream, but God is not a dream. But then what is the difference between these people and the people who are caught up into hallucination, etc., drugs and all those things? There also that what happens is that the powerful is there, but when they come back to this world, they lose the touch with the reality. See, these three states are there within us, and then these three states have to be experienced within us. If the moment that I start losing the experience of one state or the other, this state, then that basically becomes like his uh, dementia. We see a lot of people, they're so strongly wedded to the childhood days because as they grow old, the more problems, difficulties that are there, mind goes back to safe place. That's what is the childhood days. That's the reason most of the people when they are 6, 70, 80 years old go to dementia. They become like childlike memories, childlike things that are there. All the things that are there, what happened in child time that they remember, but immediately they don't remember. Somebody has come and gone. Who is this? We don't know.
The dementia relates to some genes actually.
I know. Basically, it's a psychology.
The psychology.
Psychology aspect. So, a lot of people that dementia that they get into are the people who have a lot of aberration in the world, normal world. They get into that dementia because there's an escape mechanism from this world. They go into that safe place. And the other way that we have go to the safe places that the nature knocks you off. That means you become unconscious, and then you die because the pain is so much that you would like to become unconscious. Even so, emotional things can become so powerfully painful that you can just become unconscious. To throw it unconscious. So then you naturally the body suffers all those things. But anyway, the going to this actually Prashnopanishad, what happens is that he now comes to this idea that all these planets, stars, outside world that's there, it has it has a bearing in you, and that's what is the idea. The mukhya prana when it stops, then all the other pranas that slowly recede. That means they also find out their way. In fact, Varishta Prana Uvacha, that's what he says, that Mam Moham Apadyatha Atha Vaitatya Pravibhajyeti Manamavishtabhya Vidharayami Te Satyadhana Babhuva. He says, so Abhimanat Urthamukha Urtham Utkrama. So therefore, these are the things which various prana. Now this Varishta prana talks about like the way. Use the example of this. The wheel that is there has got an axle, has got a hub, and then all the other things are there. Wheels, spokes are there. The spokes are holding the wheel, and then spokes are running the wheel. It looks like. Whereas if you closely watch it, it is the central core which is holding all that, because of which those things are there. This wheel concept is there in our culture ever since beginning. That is there. The modern culture that has come much later. Whereas we thought about wheel. In fact, this concept of wheel is so here, of course, Arai Varatanapo, that's what is the way that he uses. But we said, what is the wheel concept that we had? Wheel is the only thing where supposed to be two opposite natures are put together. Like for example, you know, then we can see that everywhere it is like that. Like if you want to write down something with a black on a blackboard with a white chalk, they have to be opposite. then only that you can see that whatever written is there. The same way that there is a music, but then there is a silence, then only that you can hear the music. There should be silence and the music. So that means two opposites have to be together. Yeah. In all these cases, it is very. In fact, in the train, when you are sitting, suddenly you feel that your train is moving. Because you see the other train is moving, your train is not moving, and the whole reaction will be there in us psychologically. It brings all that idea. Your train is moving like that. They say, no, no, you are not moving. The other train is going. On the other window, you see that then platform. You are still standing there in the platform. So movement against non-movement only that you can recognize. And wheel is a component where the wheel movement and non-movement are put together. That's how the activity creates. Yet have something which is non-moving. That's what is the central axle, and then moving spokes are there. So therefore, axle has a sense only because the central the movement is there. Otherwise, if there is no wheel, no movement, there is no question of axle at all. Axle has its name because the wheel that is there. So they're mutually dependent. Like the way food is there because it's hunger. So that's what we have seen in Prasnopanishad also. That. So these two are opposite, and wheel is component where the there is one aspect of it that is what is non-movement, and the other aspect of it that is movement. Both of them are together. So naturally, when you think of this particular model, there must be some non-movement aspect within us, and there's a movement aspect within us. Both these things are there. Our senses are the moving aspect of it. All the other activities are moving aspect of it. But then behind that, consciousness is non-moving aspect of us. If you identify yourself with the non-movement aspect of it, that's what is consciousness. Then you see all the things are happening at the peripheral level, but you are there safe behind it. You're sitting safe behind it. So this concept of wheel is that way it is very important, and that's what our wherever that there is the potential and then there is a kinetic activity, they call it as wheels. The body also that they are given all those seven chakras and all those things. The whole idea is to see that there is this wheel and axle, they are together. Prano sarvam pratishtitah rocho yajunshi samani yajnaha kshatram brahmava. So whether it is Ruk, Yadur, Samaveda, that means to say all different types of activities that are described in the Vedas. I mean, the whole of Vedas always had these two components that is there. One is called as the movement aspect of it, and the other is the Brahman consciousness aspect of it. This only literature, world literature, where constantly the whole attempt of the culture is to take you towards that Brahman consciousness, which is supposed to be your own nature. So this is the aspect that he talks about it. The second.
Sir, in Upanishads,
Yeah.
how we are going to differentiate Prashnopanishad, Prashnopanishad, like that?
They are there actually. Books are there.
Different
Different from different Vedas.
different Vedas.
Yeah. See, they are contained in the Vedas. Like for example, like whatever that we are talking about, Prashnopanishad.
Prashnopanishad.
So it comes from this one Veda, Samaveda.
Sama.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
Vedas, each
So different Veda. Similarly, at some other place, the Kenopanishad comes from the Samaveda also. Pradhanik Upanishad, it comes from the Yajurveda. So like that, Krishna Yajurveda. So that's different books. See, what happened is that Vedas, there is one portion called as Brahmanas. Brahmanas are where they, in the yajnas, yagas, rituals and all that, they chant these mantras. And they do the ahuti and all that. See, one of the very important aspect of Brahmanas, this is what we call it as the, uh, this Rudra chanting, Chamaka chanting that people do it. So there you can see there is a Brahmana that they do the offering and then they do all those things. But then it is connected with the material world outside, but at the same time it gives us a different world altogether. So, in fact, in Mandukya in the Rudra, that is says that prano yajnana kalpitam, apano yajnana kalpitam, yano yajnana kalpitam. That means yajna has brought about these six prana, apana, vyana. Finally, when he finished all those things, then finally he says yajno yajnana kalpitam. That means yajna is not brought about by some other process. All other things are process oriented. Yajna by itself becomes. That's where, therefore, yajna itself is Brahman. Yajno yajnana kalpitam. What is that yajno yajnana kalpitam? That means to say, Karana Brahma becomes the Karya Brahma. Unmanifest Brahman becomes the manifest Brahman. That's the simple idea. This is what consciousness has the freedom to become manifest. That is yajno yajnana kalpitam. In fact, that's a very elaborate concept of the Vedanta is that there is no work in this creation happening without uh, not in the form of yajna. Everything is happening in the form of yajna only. Only thing is we are not familiar with that, nor we don't allow it to happen like that. We interfere with that. We interfere with that. So when you interfere with that, interfere in the form of yajna way, therefore you create yajna. That's what is the Brahmana trying to do.
In general terms, we need to understand yajna is Om.
All these things, these when first thing is that everything is going on in a yajna. When everything is going on in a yajna way,
One event we can say.
when that becomes like godly event, like for it's a
Godly.
godly event. So where he wanted to consume something, fire consumes the whole thing. Where water has to take care of it, water takes care of it. This is what is the nature. So nature has a balancing act. That's why we say that when earthquake takes place or when movement takes, finally something settles down. In the process, so many things die, but so many things are alive, and that's what is for the people who died. It becomes very sad, but that's the way nature comes to a balance. It's constant balancing act that nature does. That's what it does. Other than yajna, nothing for him. So therefore, my eating food also should be in the form of yajna, and it cannot be in the form of my desire, but in the nature's yajna form. That's why before eating food, we say that Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi Brahmarno Brahmana. It's from Bhagavad Gita, we have taken up. The idea is that let me do it in a way that it is acceptable to the nature. That way, let me go ahead. Because he said about the prana, about all these things, aspect of it, how that prana now comes to the individual human level in the form of various planets, this, that, earth, and all. Therefore, he comes to the point where he feels such a great reverence for this prana. Prana itself is consciousness, prana itself is. Therefore, he comes to that sutra, Pranasyedam Vashet Sarvam, Diveya Pratishtitam. Mateva Raksham Putrasya Srishti Prajnam Videhi. That's where he stops the whole concept of the idea of the second chapter completes. And the second chapter is the way. So first chapter is about the whole cosmos. Second chapter is that cosmos to individual, and then going into the various individual components. There also that Panchabhutas that are there as the component, and here also the and various planets and all those things is one component. And here also their effect on us and various panchapranas that we have created within us. They are nothing but the same thing, whatever that is outside is the same thing that is there inside.
Cosmos, to note down, Cosmos is first chapter.
Yes.
Second chapter, what to know?
Cosmos to individual.
Cosmos to individual is second
Yes,
chapter.
second chapter. Comes to the level of individual. He says that what you are individual is nothing but what the cosmos and its own template that's there within.
Individual levels.
Yes. Now he comes to the third question, and this is what is Kausalya's son, Kausalya. And then Pippala is Athakainam Kausalyascha Ashwalayanam Papracha Bhagavan Utayeva Prana Jayate Katamayam iti Asmin Sharire Atmanam Va Pravibhajya Katam Pratishtate Kena Utkramate Katam Bahyam Abhidatte Katamadhyatma Viti. Now he comes to the level where you see the question is Kutayeva Prana Jayate, that is to say, how this prana has happened. Then Katham Ayati Asmin Sharire, that is how it entered into the Sharira, how it happened into the Sharira. Ayati actually comes into the Sharira, that's what they say, but it happened into the Sharira. More important thing is it's not that it's like a bottle that you put into that. No, no. It's actually it becomes the Sharira, and Katham Aya is Sharira. Atma Namba Pravibhajya Katham Pratishtate. So Atma, how it enters into this particular individual, Kathamadhyatmiti. Now, once Atma enters into that, or the concept of Atma, what is this Adhyatma? That means to say, this self, what is this self? Why it has to enter here? What is the process that is there? So this question he asks. So now he comes to the real question of ultimately finding out the self. It leads to that Adhyatma, which is supposed to be the self. Adhibhautika, Adhidaivika, Adhyatmika. Now, whatever that is there in the world outside, all the planets and stars and all that, we said that that's what is Adhibhautika. Then what happens? Their powers, whatever that is there, is supposed to be Adidaivika, Daiva. Now it comes to the individual, therefore it comes to Adhyatmika. So this Prashna, he comes to that. That is where basically how all this inquiry is turned into. See, let's remember in the first place itself, they were Brahmanishtaha Brahmaparaha. That means they were there very extraordinarily wonderful, devoted people, students. They don't have anything like. So basically, it is for the good people that they're talking. But then there are two ways that one can continue to be with this kind of a world and coming back and this and that. This order of world that is going on can be part of it. That's what is Dakshinayana. But then Uttarayana, he says, is the person that you can free themselves. When can you free them yourself? Is that when you find out what is the Adhyatma. Therefore, finally, he comes to that Adhyatma level in this particular sutra. So, in this shloka, in this question, that's where Katham Adhyatma. But then there are so many questions that are involved. Because first thing is that how does this prana jayate? How does this prana enter into? Then katham ayati, asmin sharire, in this sharira, how does it happen? Atmanava pravibhajya, katham pratishttate. Now it divides itself and various aspects of it and manages the whole thing. As I said, that five senses itself is so great that we think of it. But imagine the whole system. How many ways that it does so many things that you take whether somebody needs strengthen the stomach, strengthen this, strengthen that, you give blood donation, Marti. But once you give the blood, then it has to go to a particular, goes to the marrow, it goes to something, bone marrow. It goes. So all that, you see, there is a system that organizes the whole thing within us. Such a beautiful way. So how does it happen? Atmanava pravibhajya katam pratishttate, and it stays there. Kena utkramante, how does it take place? Katam bahyam abhidatte. When it goes outside, where does it stay? All those things. And katham adhyatmamiti. Who am I? Therefore, now he comes to that question. It was such an elaborate question, such a deep, serious question. The student, when he asked that question, that the teacher, this is what Shankara says, that this question is a real question about the spiritual journey. He starts. That's the reason why he says, Tasmai Sahovacha. Then the Pipalada says to him, says, Ati Prashna Anpuchasi. They are putting Ati Prashna. This Ati Prashna means there are so many questions that you ask. Is it Ati Prashna that way? Shankara says that's not the Ati Prashna. Ati Prashna is that your question is now penetrating into the core issue, and that's what is the nature of an individual. Therefore, it is, and when you go really deep into it, that means to say now you would like to really inquire into Brahman. That's why he says that Ati Prashnan Puchasi Brahmishtosi. Tasmad Eham Brahmi. Now I'm going to tell you about this. So now this question directly deals with the idea of what is individual and individual prana and what is consciousness. So therefore, it is directly dealing with this aspect of it. Forget about all the other things because from there we have come to. Therefore, this is supposed to be more fundamental spiritual question that it says. And then answer also gives exactly in the same direction. Atmana eva prana jayate. It's from the Paramatma Brahman. From there this prana comes into. Yathesha purushe chaye atasmin etadātaham manokritena yat asmin sharire. Now, normally what happens is that this very similar picture that you can think of the creation outside is replica of what we have inside. I know about myself. I have the experience, and then that's what is the same experience. Like for example, there is an activity that happens like in the form of mind. It's an activity. There is nothing like a mind or something. It's an activity. I imagine, I plan certain things and all that. Then I collect all the energy for that, and then the creation takes place. So, like I want to, any small little simple thing, I want to do it. First thing is that I plan how to do it. I create a whole model. I create energy for that. Create all the ingredients, everything, and then I try to do activity. So that means to say, the reality that is there in the form of unmanifest to the manifest. So whatever that translates this, started from the mind through the prana, it comes to the manifestation. So that means to say from non-existence to a thought to a level of existence, there's a mind and prana and the reality takes place. If you can imagine the same kind of a picture in the case of a plant, a seed is there inside the soil. But then you see, you cut open the seed or do anything that you cannot see any tree in that. But then the whole manifestation now starts its journey. That journey also must be in the form of there's what is called as the cosmic mind, or a part of that cosmic mind in the case of that plant that's there, is part of the cosmic mind. Like the way my mind is a cosmic mind, and part of that cosmic mind, I have a process. The same way from that it is the prana, and from there the prana to the reality. So therefore, basically, understanding yourself is actually understanding the universe. That's what he comes to the picture. How this happens and what ways it happens. Now, when we look at this, that means uh, from Prashnopanishad point of view or this way, mind and prana are not two separate things. Mind and prana are not two different kind of activities. We call it as mind. Different kind of activity, but everything is going on inside. And if it is happening within us like that, is it not the same thing which is happening in the either in the Brahmanda or you take a small little a seed plant coming out of the seed? It's all the same. We have somehow, with the modern mind, we have concretized mind is separate, intellect is separate, and the prana is separate. So like that, we have created all these things, but it's all inside. Tenaisha Purnaha. They are not separate. Patanjali also didn't separate them so distinctly, but he used various things like prana and mind, intellect and all that. It's just for only utility sake he did it, but not otherwise. That's what I think. Stop it here. We'll continue with the third question next week.
Prana term can be related to soul.
That's what it comes to that.
Yeah.
See, first, the what we call it as soul is nothing but Brahman. When you see, like it's like a bubble that you take, soap bubble that you take. Inside also the same air, outside is also the same air. Separated by such a thin wall that you can't even look at that wall. But then that soap bubble is independent, individual, it has its own journey, its own this thing. Though it is the same air. The same way, what happens is that what we call as soul is nothing but Brahman, covered by a very thin film, almost like invisible. But then that, not knowing that, we make it so strong. That's why this question comes. How the creation takes place, no, why the creation is taken place. Because that we have separate, we could have kept better advisor like me if we wanted to create all these things come into the picture. So the soul is just a language that we use it, otherwise you are that.
So one of the different term for prana, we can say.
Right. It's only prana. Only prana. That makes the activity possible is that prana. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.